because of the game, and this is the case of Leo, a boy who went through something that no one would imagine, all because he decided to personally meet a girl he found inside the game. This story was told by an anonymous follower who does not want me to reveal their identity. But before I tell it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, because I always bring stories that happened in Roblox, and each one is more disturbing than the last. This Roblox player was named Leo. He was 14 years old, almost 15, and like many young people his age, he spent hours in front of the computer. His refuge, obviously, was Roblox, especially a game called Bloxburg, which is the least important part, where he could have a house, a car, virtual friends, and, above all, a place where he didn't feel alone, since at home he usually only heard his parents arguing. At school, he was a very quiet boy, a bit shy. He didn't stand out much, but in Roblox, it was different. There, Leo had respect, had friends who admired him, and a life that he himself had built. But gradually, he began to care more about the people in Roblox than the people at home. The hours passed, and Leo no longer went out with his school friends, nor did his homework. His mother would always say, "Leo, turn off that computer. You've spent the whole day there." And he would answer, "Okay, Mom, I'm going." But he never went. And that's where it all began. The mother was a person who didn't know how to control her own anger very well. As she frequently argued with Leo's father, sometimes she lost control to the point of acting impulsively, throwing objects around the house. One day, she went up to Leo's room, closed the door and held him tightly, taking out her frustration on him. This was just the first sign of what was still to come. Leo spent more and more time on Roblox, and it was there, in a Bloxburg server, that he met a girl. In the game, she was called Luna. They talked every day, first only in the game chat, then they moved to WhatsApp. The messages went until dawn, audios, photos, and laughter. Leo felt something he had never felt, as if someone finally understood him for real. Luna would say things like, "You are the only person who understands me, Leo. I want to meet you in person so much." And he would reply, "Me too. One day we will meet, I promise." That one day began to become an obsession. Luna lived in another state, far, very far away. But Leo couldn't stop thinking about her. At school, he drew her name in his notebook. At home, he would stay smiling to himself, looking at his phone. To him, Luna was the most real person in his life, even if they had never seen each other outside of a screen. Until he had an idea that he never should have had. He thought about how his mother kept money in her purse, which stayed in the parents' bedroom. He thought about it 1,000 times. He knew that if he were caught, he would be punished, and you already know how his mother was. But he wanted to see Luna. He wanted to turn that virtual Roblox friendship into something real. In his head, it was the only way to finally be happy. So, he took money from his mother's wallet. At first, in his head, he repeated, "Only this time, I will never take money from my mother again." But it wasn't just once. The second time came, the third, and when he realized it, it was already the fourth. He was saving every cent with a single objective: to buy a plane ticket to meet Luna. Until the mother noticed that money was missing. When she asked what he was doing, why he was taking the money, Leo denied everything. He said he hadn't done anything. The mother became extremely nervous. Almost 200 were already missing. She grabbed whatever was closest to take her anger out on him. It was a fan. The room was hot, and he always kept a fan on. She took the fan, which measured about 1 meter, and hit him in the back. Over time, Leo's behavior changed. He stopped going out, his grades dropped, he ignored friends who called him to play soccer. His father tried to talk. "Leo, what is happening to you? You don't even eat with us anymore." But Leo would just say, "I'm fine, Dad." But he wasn't. He started locking the door more and more, afraid that his mother would enter again to fight with him. He spent the day locked in, but he wasn't just playing, he was planning. He researched flights, compared prices, looked at maps, talked to Luna until 3 in the morning, promising that he would be there soon. They say that sometimes, while he slept, he dreamed he was already on the plane, flying to find her. But the worst was yet to come. One day, the mother saw a bank notification, a purchase of almost $800. It wasn't for Robux, it was a plane ticket. She went straight to his room. Leo, very irritated, shouted, "Don't you understand? She is the only person who cares about me. You have no idea what this means to me." The mother, with tears in her eyes and overcome by rage, grabbed the broomstick that was leaning behind the door. What happened in that room was another moment of lack of control, where she unloaded all her frustration on him. After that, she took away his phone and his computer. Leo screamed, slammed the door, and locked himself in. Hours later, he remembered that his old cell phone still connected to the Wi-Fi. He sent a message to Luna, "I'm going to find you, no matter what happens." What no one expected is that he had already bought the ticket before his mother found out, and the flight was for 2 days later. Leo took his backpack, some money that remained in the room, and left the house at dawn without telling anyone. He went to the airport with his heart racing and boarded. A 14-year-old boy alone on a plane, going to meet a person he only knew behind a Roblox avatar. The flight took off normally. Leo looked out the window, nervous, but with a smile on his face. For the first time in a long time, he felt he was doing something for himself. But then, everything changed. Approximately 2 hours into the flight, the plane began to show failures. The passengers felt strong turbulence. The lights flickered, the oxygen mask fell. Leo grabbed the seat in front of him with both hands, his heart almost jumping out of his mouth. The pilot tried an emergency landing, but couldn't reach the nearest runway. The plane crashed into the sea. The impact was violent. Leo felt the freezing water invading everything. Screams, darkness. He didn't know how to swim well, but he managed to grab onto a piece of debris that was floating. He stayed there in the middle of the ocean, trembling with cold and fear for hours that felt like an eternity. He cried, he screamed, he asked for God, for his mother, for his father. At that moment, Robux didn't matter. The house in Bloxburg didn't matter. Not even Luna mattered. The only thing going through his head was, "I want to go home. I want my mother." Rescue teams were activated. Helicopters searched the region. Hours later, they found survivors scattered among the wreckage. Leo was one of them. He was dehydrated, in a state of hypothermia, with cuts on his body, but alive. He was placed in the helicopter, wrapped in a thermal blanket, and taken to the nearest hospital. The news hit the parents like a bomb. They didn't even know he had left the house, much less that he had bought a plane ticket. When they saw on the news that the flight had crashed into the sea and that their son was on the passenger list, the world collapsed. The mother cried so much she could barely breathe. The father drove for hours without stopping to the hospital. When they arrived and saw Leo lying in that bed, with an IV in his arm, bandages, sunken eyes, and pale skin, the mother hugged him with such strength that it seemed like she was never going to let go. But after the relief came the anger. When Leo was already recovering, already able to sit up in bed and speak normally, the mother closed the door of the hospital room, looked into his eyes, and spoke with a voice he had never heard. It wasn't a scream, it was something worse. It was the voice of a mother who almost lost her son. And this time, she didn't need a fan or a broomstick. She gave him a slap so hard on his arm that it echoed through the hospital corridor. Then another, and another. It wasn't a beating. It was the desperation of a mother who had seen her son on the list of an air accident, without knowing if he was alive or dead. Leo didn't react, didn't scream, didn't complain. He just stayed there in silence, his eyes full of water, because deep down he knew. He knew the mother was right. He knew he had almost died. He knew he had done the stupidest thing of his life. When they gave his old phone back to him weeks later, already at home, there were 47 messages from Luna. He read them all, one by one. He stood still looking at the screen for a long time, and then typed just one message. "I'm alive, but I'm not going to do this anymore. Sorry." He turned off the phone and left it on the table, as if it no longer had much importance. And since then, it is not known if Leo went back to playing or if he abandoned Roblox forever. But one thing is certain, he never entered a plane again without his mother knowing. And you? What do you think? Was it the fault of Leo, the parents, Luna, or Roblox? Comment down below and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because here, there are always videos of strange cases like this one from Roblox. I'm heading out now.